Hey everyone, my name is Cerebellum. This is Academy of the Ancients. Today we're doing a replay review of alicheesehead's Ogre Magi support. So, Ogre Magi is a pretty usual support in a lot of ways. He's got a stun, he's got a slow, he's got a steroid you can use on carries, and he's got a passive ultimate that makes all of these better, basically. That's the main things about him. He's a little bit more slanted towards damage than control, I think. His stun is only 1.5 second duration, and he's got a pretty decent slow, but it also does a lot of damage. So, in that sense, he's really good. But in the sense of, you could probably get more control-heavy support. So, right off the bat, I want to just take a look at the lane he ends up with here, because that's going to have a lot of impact on how this game turns out from his point of view. Right off the bat, we see that there's some... I'm saying that way too much, but yeah. We see that there's a really odd thing, or a really unfortunate thing about this lane, and that is they have two melees. That means that they're going to be up against this this Vengeful Spirit. I mean, player perspective right now, so can't actually see the Vengeful Spirit. See it's up there. Can't actually change the perspective or the camera control options while paused here. So if anyone from Loud is watching, please change that. That is super freaking annoying. I'm assuming that's because it's tied to the in-game clock. Yeah. So basically they're up against the ranged, and they're both melee, which means that they're gonna have problems actually, harassing, because she's always gonna just be able to hit them while she's out of range with their hits. So yeah, that's unfortunate. But they do have a good chance of getting a kill in this lane just because they have so much stun. However, what we're gonna see from Ali here in lane is that he's gonna be very happy about using his mana just to harass. And although I said just before that his abilities are slanted heavily towards damage, it's not really gonna be super effective like that. Okay, they spent a bunch of mana there and they got it down to half health. That honestly isn't really worth it here because, yeah, they aren't gonna get a kill, and they're both strength heroes. Strength heroes don't have a very big mana pool. They're gonna be basically trading. He's gonna trade both regen and, mana regen. And Tiny's gonna have some regen mana as well for her regen. That's basically the trade they're making, and that's not really worth it. So, especially when you are with a Tiny, you need to give him a few levels before he can really hope to get a kill. Omnilight's gonna come in here. Very nice from the Omnilight, cancelling out the clarity here. Meaning the Ogre now, already, we are 1.5 minutes into the game, Ogre is out of mana. This Ogre is not gonna be able to cast a spell for a good 30 seconds still. That's bad. That's really bad, to be honest. So right now he's basically a melee right-click in lane, standing there sapping XP. So really what you want to do is hang back a little bit, especially when you're off-lane like this, and you want to be a little bit more defensive, probably. And again, if you'd waited until you both hit level 3, you had level 2 Fire Blast, and the Tiny had... Tiny's gonna die there. So... what happened there is they just went in, they didn't have enough mana to make anything happen, they didn't have enough damage to make anything really happen, so they just kind of tried, and it didn't pan out because they didn't have the range of the enemies. Omni-Knight's really hard to lane against for these two, just because his heal just completely nullifies a lot of that burst damage. So I would say just play a lot more defensive in this dual lane. His warding has been pretty good. He's planted a ward down here and one over here. He's holding his camera a little bit too far down. You want your camera on your enemies, or where the stuff you need to see is going on, of course. So you need to be a little bit further up here. There's no reason to see this whole area down here. I've got it on his camera, so I know this is what he's seeing at this point. He's got it down here, and that doesn't do anything for him, to be honest. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks.
So they're running low on regen. They aren't getting very much done. Let's see last hit wise what's happening. So the thing that's really losing in the lane at this point, the thing that's really bad, is that Venge is 15 last hits to the Tiny 6. So not only did they give up first blood, they are also losing in terms of last hits a lot. So you might be asking yourself, okay, if I'm not supposed to use my spells to harass, that's a thing that's done a lot more in League of Legends, since there isn't any mana, as far as I understand at least. I don't know very much about that game, but when I coach players that come from League of Legends, they are all very happy to just use their mana up immediately. And that's some sort of habit that they get from that game, where you don't have that consideration. You can just use your spells once they come off cooldown. That's not the case here, and we're gonna see in the early stage of the game. That's one thing that hampers Ali's play a lot, is that he just spends his mana and he can't use his spells in the right times because there just isn't the mana for it. So yeah. Well, yeah, if you aren't supposed to do that, what are you supposed to do then? Well, this is just a bad lane, to be honest, in a lot of ways. They're gonna get a kill here, as far as I remember, but that's just because the Venge got too far forward, and they can just pile on all the spells. And now he actually had enough mana for it, so they can actually get a kill. But outside of situations like that, what you're supposed to do is just focus on denies. See, he's got no denies at all, so that's obviously pretty bad. And yeah, that would be a lot easier than trying to zone out or harass the Vengeful in this case, because the creeps honestly are just gonna not dodge you, of course. You do have a lot of mana pools, or a lot of health pool as Ogre. That's he's got a very good strength gain, so you can just tank up a lot of the harassment. Just use some more tangos. We see he still has 3 tangos, and we have 4 minutes into the game, so he could have probably just gone for a lot of denies, and that might have been a lot better if they just went that route. And again, just when you have a tiny, he gets a lot more damage once he hit level 3 than at level 1. Just his burst damage, because of the way Taurus works with Avalanche, becomes a lot better. So, oh, I thought they were gonna get a kill here actually. So a little bit of a spoiler alert. This is the second time I'm watching this replay, so yeah. Now, okay, yeah, I remember this one. So let's go over why he died there, because that's a pretty obvious mistake. The replay probably gonna bug out now, but you know. Let's just go here. So let's just take that whole engagement at ×1. So, let's see. Vengeful comes down. They blow all their spells on him. Nice continuation of stuns there. I thought they layered those, but that's actually pretty much optimal. You saw he just moved before the tiny stun went on there. And now, they go back. So the tiny is a little bit further forward. He managed to land a stun. Ogre sees that the Vengeful is low and decides, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for it. Don't have any mana. Shit. So he just goes for it without having any mana. We just discussed how problematic it is to get damage in while you're melee, and he just can't do anything. He can't, even though she's so low. There's no way he can finish her off because they have the heal and the stun, and they just destroy him instead. So no reason to give up the kill there. Mind your mana. That's, you know, that's the takeaway there. I do like his skill build. I think this is pretty good. Ignite and Fire Blast is really good for this stage. Depending on who you're laning with, a Bloodlust level might be good. And here they're gonna get the Vengeful. So yeah, that's, you know, they just have a lot of burst damage here. And the Omni-Knight, if the Omni-Knight had been there, he could have just healed. And that would have been great, but he wasn't, so they managed to get a kill. And that's really good for them. That's Vengeful, they need to suppress her a lot. She's being played as a carry here, that's not super unusual. That's being played a little bit these days. She's still played more as a support, but she can be played as a carry. It is viable. Beastmaster overcommitting. You're gonna see a lot of this. They love, this team loves roaming in the enemy woods, and it's not gonna pan out super well most of the time. See, now they just used all their mana, and probably the tiny is gonna end up dead here because now see what happens is if you're roaming around in here and you're not accomplishing anything, if you don't have a very good chance of killing one off right away, you know, they're just going to converge on you, and they can teleport to this tower, they can just move in from the river here, as we saw the TA did. It's just, you know, you can get surrounded real easy, and your options are going to run out real fast, and you're just going to give up kills. So that's what happens there. Way too early to be just running around. Obviously, like, you can run around the enemy woods, try to pick up smokes of deceit, if you have heroes that are good for that kind of gank. I don't think Ogre is especially well suited for it. But yeah, just running in there, pretty dumb, to be honest, pretty dumb. Beastmaster had a haste, so he makes it out alive. Honestly, if you pick up that he has a haste and that's why he's doing it, just let him do it, and just, you know, don't follow him, because you can't really do much about that. Ogre's just saving up for mana boots here. I like that, that's a good item choice. Pretty perfect. Like we just discussed, that he doesn't have a very big mana pool, and arcane boots are gonna give him all the mana he needs. His spells are pretty cheap,
top tower is under attack.
So he can afford to. He can really get a lot of mileage out of the mana boots.
Under attack.
Of course, if they were more expensive, mana boots would still be good because you need to use your abilities. Go. Yeah. See, even like that's almost 50% of his mana pool now is coming from these boots. That's 250 mana.
Dire's
He's got 600 mana
under
total.
attack.
So obviously a good pickup. One thing he hasn't done at all, which he really should, is just keep a TP scroll on him. Now, I want to just take a moment to look at the game situation overall. So they're trading on kills, and one thing newbies do too much is they tunnel vision on these kills. They look at these kills and say, we're behind. We are losing this game because they are leading 3 kills to 1. Except they're not actually losing this game. They're winning this game actually. Right now they're winning this game. A little bit at least. Because of this anti-mage. And because of the fact that they have an anti-mage, he is the heaviest carry on the field. Alongside with Tiny actually. They have 2 heaviest carries. They do have some carry potential on the other team. The TA and the Doom especially are really good carries. Or pretty good carries. But nothing along the lines of a farmed anti-mage or Tiny. So really, what it comes down to here is this anti-mage is having a really good game so far. He's making very good progress towards his Battle Fury, and he's gonna be like just game-breaking factor later on if he can just keep this momentum going. This is very vital because they're actually in a very good spot, because the guys who've died on their team is like the Ogre, the Tiny, and I think that's just those 2 actually. Yeah, the Tiny's died twice, Ogre's died once. That's pretty good, because those are not very high priority heroes for him right now. I think probably your highest priority hero is the Anti-Mage, and I think the Tiny is probably the second. So just the Anti-Mage not dying yet and getting 60 last hits. He's got twice the last hits of any of the enemies. That's really good. That's really good. So yeah, he's having the time of his life down here. This is exactly what you want to do as Anti-Mage. Just get all the space in the world to farm it, basically. So if they can keep him from dying, and that involves Ogre picking up a TP, that's really good. So he managed to pick up an enemy's rune. They're gonna try to see if they can pick up something here. You see again, we have some fooling around the enemy woods. They love doing this, and again, they're probably gonna end up paying with someone's life for this. Yeah. So yeah, this is just not good. Like, why? Like, if you're just running around, no invis, no smoke, no nothing, they're gonna know you're in there. They're gonna just converge on you, because it's so easy to do when it's on your half. Like, think about it. If you spot
bottom tower,
there's just a few heroes running around down here, you can TP down here, you can TP in here, you can just walk in there towards them. And it's so easy to just corner them if they're just milling around, especially if they're right underneath one of the towers that we saw up here. Engaging around here is super dangerous. Like in these areas, in here, it gets, you can get good engagements, but once it gets right under the tower, you can have people teleporting right on top of you. It's super bad. But we see Anti-Mage, just in that little time, with that little space board, Anti-Mage got another 15 last hits. He's just got another half of the Vengeful's last hits again. And I think he's still not died. No. He's still not died. So, let's just take GPM. GPM, yeah, the Anti-Mage is leading, so don't tunnel vision on these kills. Look at a lot of the last hits, and look at, it's just, you can't get a last hit readout when you are in a game only for yourself, so it's a little bit harder. But, just, you aren't necessarily losing just because you are trading on kills.
Is under attack.
That's the thing I want to get at here. And that's one of the things that separates the good players from the bad ones is their game sense, they knowing how the game is doing.
Attack.
It's very close to this Battle Fury, he's doing very well. Boom, another kill on the Venge. Again, Venge just not respecting these two. He gets picked off just because she was just way too far forward there. Can't immediate range of Tiny is just such a bad place to be. It's just, that's a death zone right there. And now, if I remember this correctly, yeah, Tiny's gonna go forward. He's gonna use his ability to farm with this wave. And look at that. Oh, what's that? That's a TP in on their tower, and they're just converging on him right away. He's just dead. Like, really? There, I would honestly just have abandoned him. He's dead. Like, dead.
Dire's top tower
Tiny.
is under attack.
So that was bad. overextended, like exactly the same range. They just went too far forward, didn't have enough. You know, if you see the enemies are pushing a tower or something, you can do their stuff, but in this case they weren't. They were off the map, and you can't, you know, go past that T1 at that point without, you know, knowing where they are on the map.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen. Radiant's top tower is on. Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
So they managed to get a good engagement here, though it's honestly hard to say why this turns out so well for them.
Take my advice. Stay dead.
Good of them. Even though she's in this, you can use certain abilities to hit her anyway. It takes some know-how to know which abilities hit when they are in this. But most like skill shots hit when they're in this. So, yeah. They managed to take a tower off this. This is exactly what you're supposed to do when you win a big fight like that. You just clear off 4 enemies. Take a tower. It's really good. So the Anti-Mage should have his Battle Fury, yeah. He hasn't died yet, he's in 101. So this is really good. Like the Anti-Mage is starting to look really scary, to be honest. And he's doing exactly what he should, just farming up. Maybe he should farm more lane, honestly.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's top tower has fallen.
They don't really want to fight here. Ogre gets bursted down. Good swap of revenge. Swap's very hard ability to use, honestly, for stuff like that. But they could kind of just see, okay, enemies are moving out. We can just swap in the Ogre, get a good kill off it. Very good use of it there. Very good use. And just, you know, overextending a little bit. Could have just let the Wind Ranger get the last hit on the tower. No reason to go in melee on it. He's gonna pick up a mech now, I think. Yeah, he's gonna pick up a mech, but he builds builds the wrong item first of the mech. This is the worst part of the mech. This is just a bit of HP regen and a few very measly little bit of stats. Like this item taking up space in the inventory isn't really worth it at this point. It's just so little it's giving you. So pick up, if you had, he had like, well, let's see, this is 600, so he had around 1k or so, aside from the stuff he bought else. You could just pick up the buckler. The buckler's a lot better because it gives you 5 armor. He does have armor, so it isn't, you know, it isn't absolutely critical that he gets armor. It isn't like Doom, who has like 0 armor base. But you know, it's still, you know, 5 armor is still pretty good.
Dire's middle
He really
tower
should
is under
ward,
attack.
I think. He's got 3 wards now. Yeah, ward in their woods. If they're so happy about, you know, running around in their woods, that's a nice, nice fire blast. Managed to get the multicast off. Very good skill shot there. Very good use of multicast. I'm joking, of course. Multicast is it's just a proc. You can't control when it hits at all. And here the enemies pull off a nice little roam. They might have been aware of these 2 up here, else they just got lucky. So that was an example of when you know there's 2 up there, you have 4 down here. That means it has to be a 4-on-3 fight. Like even if they take the fight, you have the numerical advantage, which is a good reason to take the fight.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So they're ahead on towers now. It's honestly looking pretty good for them. Aside, they are just still trading a bit on kills, but that's the only thing. If we take a look at the XP graph, it's slightly on the Dire's favor,
middle tower
but the gold
is
graph
under
is on the Radiant's favor. And I think with the towers being the way they are, I would favor the Radiant here. And especially the farm distribution being in favor of the Anti-Mage is really good for them. At least if he doesn't just stand around. There we go. Probably just okay for a second. They go on Omni here, he just dies. Yeah, that was not good. Go. So that's the mech. Yeah. Now, okay. I'm gonna talk about wards for a second, and I'm gonna have to do this annoying shit because I can't get free camera else. Come on now. I'm not a fan of this new interface, in case you were wondering. So let's take a look at the wards here for a second, because this is pretty important. What we have seen of Ogre here is he's prioritizing, and this is a newbie thing, something newbies do a lot. Prioritizing your own items very heavily over support items. And what I mean by support items is he's got the observer wards, but he hasn't gotten any sentries. You might think, oh yeah, it isn't actually that good getting sentries as Ogre, because you need someone with a ranged attack to deward. But you know, we could have dewarded this here. They're doing some fairly standard wards. They have got a very weird one here. If this is in response to them roaming so much in their jungle, then I really like this. This is gonna help them out a lot. And they have one here, which is also quite common. Though more common, it's more useful when this tower goes down. But also just in general, if they want to do ganks in their jungle. But they don't have a super good hero for it. They have Mirana, I guess. That's pretty good. Yeah, so we could see some more sentries out of Ogre. I think that would be good. And some smoke of the seed. Like, they want to roam a lot, and I think smoke of the seed would have helped a lot. So at this point in the game, where would I want to put down wards? Well, we want to kind of limit our enemies' map control with wards right now. So definitely I want a ward around here, maybe down here, blocking their ancients. Maybe over here, overlooking this point, seeing if they're protecting this tower, would be good. And certainly one in their jungle. We're gonna see he's gonna put one over here at one point, which is really good. Also here could be pretty good, and around here might be okay. Just you know, you want some vision. You want to know where they are. You want to be able to see when they're trying to farm up their jungle, and just be able to go for them there. And deny them map control in that regard. So go perspective. There we go. This new interface killing me. So now the Ogre is he's just standing around. So this is a very good time to deward or something. But he's just gonna stand around. Gonna use a bit of his mana to counter push the wave. Go vengeful. Tiny doing the blink build here. I think is good. I think that's about really good. He really likes this ward spot. The Ogre really likes this ward spot. I think it's the one over here on the other ledge is a little bit better. It just gives you some better vision. It gives you vision of this camp especially if you put it right. So.
Justice. Radiant's top tower is under attack.
So yeah, a little bit of tower defense here. It's pretty good.
Radiant's
They
bottom
managed to kill
tower
the Templar
is under
Assassin up
attack.
top. Really good.
Radiant's bottom tower
Well
has
done.
fallen.
Well done. Let's see now. The anti-mage just died twice in the meantime though, so that's pretty bad. And the Ogre is just kind of camping this area, and honestly think this is pretty bad use of your time. Again, smoke ganks would be really good. Else, staying around the anti-mage would probably be able to. Yeah, don't go in there. That's a lost fight.
You are looking good.
I like he doesn't actually. He just uses his abilities on the Venge and then leaves, and then just hopes she'll die to it. She probably will, because this thing does a lot of damage. Like this thing. See, 50 times 8, that's 400 DOT, and she had a few ticks there, so 400 magical damage is a lot. That's like 300 after
Dire's
magical
bottom
resistance.
tower is under attack.
And now he's just standing around here again. He's just parked himself here mid, and now he's trying to figure out what to buy. And he's gonna end up going for Aghanim Scepter. But he buys the wrong starting item for it. He should have bought the point boost. He should have just gone and get the point booster instead of buying the staff here. And the second priority should be the Ogre Club. Very good using your damage over time on the TA. So we get a pretty good fight here. Could have saved the Tiny with the or earlier used the mechanism. Yeah, but still really good fight for them.
Dire's
I
middle
really
tower
like
is under
using your
attack.
ignite on the TA especially
Dire's
is very
structures
important.
are fortified.
Because it is a damage over time ability, and you need to bring down her refraction. Damage over time abilities are really good for that. Damage over time abilities and minions are usually the
Dire's
best for
top
that.
tower is under attack.
So
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
yeah, he's just kind of running around now. Another thing he isn't doing very much is One thing you want to do as a support is these TPs. You want to keep those off cooldown as much as possible. So that means when you die or when you find yourself in the fountain, try running out. Unless there's something you need to be at, something you need to react to right now, then you just run out to where you want to go. And then your TP is still off cooldown and you can react with it. You can just, if someone gets gone on, you can just TP in on it, turn the fight around maybe. He's using his abilities, bar the Bloodlust really well. I think the Bloodlust could be used more in fights here. He hasn't used it very much at all. Go. Decent shackle shot. I actually just missed it, so. The one thing that's dragging his team down here, and I know how this is gonna pan out, the one thing that's dragging his team down here is the lack of items on a few key heroes. We see the Wind Ranger for she has a support. So she's got some stuff, but she hasn't, for her role, she's got some stuff, but she isn't. She's gonna work up to an Orchid. We're already 30 minutes into the game. It's gonna be a long time before this Orchid is up. And I think, honestly, at that time frame, almost a Sheep Stick would be better, I think. I think a Sheep Stick might actually be better, because there's gonna be like, they might get their Manta styles up, and that can just purge the Orchid. I think it can, at least. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but yeah. Another thing that's really bad is the Beastmaster also went for a mechanism. I didn't see who got this first, but this is obviously a pretty big mistake. The Beastmaster also has some fairly bad items. Like, he really needs a blink, to be honest. He needs to be able to blink initiate, like the Tiny is doing, but to be able to do it with the Beastmaster would be a little bit better. Pretty much the only guy who's got really good items so far is the Anti-Mage. He's built up a lot of stuff, though his farm hasn't really taken off right now. He really should be farming a little bit more, though he's he's been dying. He's unfortunately been dying a lot. He's died 3 times, so that's a good bit. And he isn't as far ahead on farm as we would want. So the XP is they're still in their favor, and by the fact that they have still the heavier carries, then that's still really good. But other than that, it's not looking super good. Managed to burst down the Omni. Not a super big deal killing the Omni here. They're not going to be able to take any objectives of it. He isn't really the guy who needs any kind of farm, so killing off the Omni, it just gives you a little bit of gold, basically. A little bit of XP. And oh yeah, this was pretty painful to see. Like, he's got a TP off cooldown during his whole thing. He's already been here 20 seconds or so. There we go, and into the... Could have just pointed yourself down. 4-staff pushes you in the direction you're facing, so because it wasn't actually the Wind Raider's fault he didn't get off the cliff entirely, or he managed to land inside the trees. Yeah, that was more or less because the way the Ogre was facing dictated that.
Oh. Radiant's middle tower is up. Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
So they've got a bit of defense here. I like leading with the Ignite. Should definitely always, as soon as you see the Anti-Mage here, Bloodlust him. Just Bloodlust him. He really wants that Bloodlust. Especially the Tiny. Are you kidding me? The Tiny with Bloodlust is pretty ideal. Attack speed and movement speed is exactly what Tiny wants. Especially if he's got an Aghanim's. Does he have Aghanim's? No, not yet. So they managed to go in. Omni Knight's gonna fuck everything up for them. Guardian Angel just making a mess of things. Let's just go back and see what happens there and what should have happened, really. So the one good thing about killing Omni Knight actually is that it kind of limits your opponent's options with regard to engaging, because he's such a big part of their team fight here. This Guardian Angel is just super good. Guardian Angel hasn't actually gone off yet. They go in. There we go. There's the Guardian Angel sound. And now, with the Guardian Angel running off, they basically can't do anything. So yeah, we're gonna go back again, because I actually forgot to mention exactly what I was supposed to mention. Ogre's already dead here. About here's where they take the fight, but the Anti-Mage is over here, farming. And the Anti-Mage being over here farming means that they can't take this fight. It means that they need to delay and get the Anti-Mage over here. They can't afford, they have 30 minutes into the game, they can't do 4v5 fights here. And basically, this is the Beastmaster probably initiating when he shouldn't have. Tiny goes in. Tiny didn't use his combo quite right there, but they just went in. They went in 4v5 over the tower. They could have just delayed it a little bit more. The anti-mage comes in at the bottom of the fight, tries to make something happen. Pretty quickly realizes this is a bad idea and backs off. So you just gave up 2 kills and probably the mid tower for no reason there. And that was probably the Beastmaster being too far forward. Anti-mage. No, he's
Dire's
fine.
bottom tower is under attack.
If she's got the Wind Ranger though, the Wind Ranger, that, yeah. So a bit of bad initiation, just kind of always keep an eye on the minimap, try to figure out how many people do we have in this fight, do we have the numerical advantage, or are we at least even? Because we can't take a 4v5, that we just can't. Tiny is gonna blink in and die here probably. Ogre TPing out here, just using a TP for no reason there. See, their anti-mage commits, they managed to get a 4v5 fight in their favor. They only lose the anti, which is pretty much the worst guy to lose at this point, but, you know, it's still okay.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Tiny just diving for the kills.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
But he managed to get out, and they managed to get the tier 2 mid. So very good, like, again, textbook, you know, win a big fight, take an objective. Now he's pretty close to his Aghanims. I think he's got his Aghanims, yeah. But he doesn't know how his Aghanims works. So I'm gonna address this real fast for you here, alicheesehead. This spell, the spell you get with your Aghanims, which is, okay, so the Aghanims, it makes a bunch of your shit better. It makes a lot of it makes your multicast better, and you get this unrefined Fire Blast, which works exactly like this Fire Blast, except with regard to its mana cost. And its mana cost is percentage based. It takes a percentage of your current mana, and more exactly, it takes, I think it takes 40% of your current mana. So right now, if you use it, it's gonna take up a lot of mana. And yeah, you basically want to wait until you've used most of your mana to use it, just because you can get a lot more mileage of it. Just use these 3 abilities, at least once, and then start using this, because then you can get a lot more out of your mana. But he doesn't know it, he hasn't read up on it, it isn't very well described, we can just see that. So he used it right away, and it took basically most of his mana right there. So, and you can see if you used it now, it's like 160 mana, which is reasonable for a stun. Yeah. So the enemies are taking rows. They didn't really catch news of it. The anti-mage managed to die somehow, so that's really bad.
Under attack.
And you know, Ogre shouldn't be over here. They can't take a fight now. They just can't. Ogre's trading. Go. Die. Tiny shouldn't go in there. That's just a dead Ogre. Carry TPs. If he had a TP there, he could have maybe made it out. TA doesn't have any way to prevent you from TP.
Radiant's middle tower. Dire's top.
Let's look at the way the enemies have itemized here really quick. So we've got a blink on TA, this is very standard. We've got a blink on Doom, also pretty standard. We've got Aghanims on Doom, that's pretty interesting actually. Aghanims on Omni-Knight, I actually have no idea what that does. None. But we've got the blink Aghanims Doom, so he's just looking to initiate, and he's got a mech. That's a really good build for this situation, I think, and I really like this from him. So he can blink in, initiate on the anti-mage, and you know, then he can't blink away, he can't use any of his annoying abilities, and then they can just kill the anti-mage with their blink TA and their vengeful and all this stuff. Vengeful is built for DPS. I think this is pretty good. He could have acted as a support here and had the Mirana built for DPS instead. Mirana is doing the support Mirana thing, where you kind of play like a carry that's trying to catch you up the whole game basically, and this is really poor, I think. But then again, Mirana support is just, yeah, maybe he doesn't think he's playing support, but he should be, because they can't just have the Omni-Knight supporting. The Omni-Knights managed to get up on Aghanims. Let's see if we can figure out. Increases duration, radius becomes global, and affects buildings. Okay, so that's pretty insane. He can he can Guardian Angel of buildings now. That is dumb. Okay, right. So they've got some good stuff going on. And they basically have an anti-mage who's managed to get us Skull Bashers since we looked at him last. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff. He should probably get into an Abyssal, but he's starting to not be that far ahead. Unfortunately. Take a look at the net worth. He's right neck and neck with the Doom. Doom, of course, farms extremely fast when he's got a Midas and Devour. That is kind of Doom's thing. I just did a replay on Doom, so yeah. He is super good at farming fast, so then it works on neck and neck. And then there's the Vengeful with a big lead on the Tiny. The Tiny is gone, pretty useful bit. He's gonna go for a BKB now. I think this is honestly a decent build. Pretty decent. With regard to actually our Ogre, I still think the biggest thing right now is using his Bloodlust a little bit more and a better situational awareness. Like.
Dire's top tower is under
So that's one way to lose an Aegis. So I mean, it's not like the anti-mage is powerless right here. If he managed to get out here, he does. Nice. So anti-mage is, you know, when he gets farmed, he's scary. We just see like this Vengeful was not without farm. Oh yeah, another thing. With regards to support items, when they have a Mirana and a TA that goes invisible, and this is like the second time it's happened where she just goes invisible and you can't catch her for a long, long time. Then, you know, get dust. He should really get dust this game. Quite a lot. Now that they've started losing their towers, and you know they need to secure their farm in their jungle, especially some wards around the Roche Pit is always good. It also protects your entrance to your woods here, and a ward in this area right here would be very good. Yep, that's a good ward. So yeah, like, get dust, use your Bloodlust, Savior or Unrefined Fire Blast, the one you get from Aghanim's. It's a little bit annoying they call it the same thing, but save that for the later in the fight when you aren't using most of your mana pool to cast it. Sometimes it can be good to just throw it out right away because you have trouble surviving, but ideally you want to at least get one round of other
middle
spells.
tower is under attack.
Go, good Bloodlust there. See, if they had dust here, this could turn the fight around. So that Mirana Invis there just turned the whole fight around. That could have gone so much better for them if they hadn't had that Mirana Invis. But they did, so, and there was no dust. If there was just dust there, they could have just won that fight completely, but they didn't have any dust, so they couldn't reveal him, so they just ran around as they pleased. And the Anti-Mage and the Beastmaster got separated from the group, and then it was just kind of a tiny, an Ogre and a Wind Ranger trying to fight up against like 3 or 4 of them, and that can't really work out. So that ended up being a more or less even trade. Not what you want at this point. So get dust. He really likes this walling spot. Likes it super much. This point in the game though it's not very important to ward there. Honestly, if you want to cover, I want to talk real fast. Oh, let me just free camera. Yeah, there we go. It's so annoying you can't change this without unpausing. So, if you want to cover this rune spot, there are 3 options. The least common option is to use this thing. This spot right here. It's not very good. If you look at where it gives you vision, it gives you a little bit of vision here. But if you're on the radiant side, not really a big deal. Not really a big deal. Gives you a little bit of vision up here, but why would anyone be right here? There's nothing to do here. If you're going over here, you're going by this route, and this won't give you any vision of it. It pretty much only covers this room. That's what this does right here. Better options, put one right here, You get some vision in this area. You can see if people cross over this path. You get some vision of this camp if you put it far enough up. So that can be very good. I love this rune spot a lot. And the third one, oh well, actually there's one more. So another option is right here. This will give you view of these ancients. It'll give you a view over here, and it'll also give you some view over the mid here. This is a very good ward to put down early, especially against guys like Podge, because you can get a bit more of a beat on where Podge is. If you get a beat on where Podge is, you can get a beat on how to not, or you can get a leg up in terms of how to avoid getting hooked. It's very good. So another option is right here. And that'll that'll spot here, and it'll spot some low ground over here. And if you're getting dewarded a lot, this option is pretty good, because it's not very often it's gonna be used. For this rune spot down here, and also for later on in the game, I really like this ward. I think this is the perfect place to put it right now. There's of course the giant indicator valves put there for where you should probably. It's a good place to put a ward right here. It's also the most common place to get dewarded. So these two right here and right here gives you very good vision of if they're trying to take Roshan. So later on in the game, that's a very good place to put it. Earlier on in the game, it's very good to put it right here, because it gives you very good vision of who's going around in here, which is a little bit more important. Most of the time, they aren't gonna, for the first 10 minutes, they aren't probably gonna take Roshan. You can also put it here. This is also a very common spot. Yeah. At this point in the game, though, it's a lot more about controlling the jungle and a lot more about seeing which lanes are gonna get pushed. So a ward in this area, I think he's gonna put one down right in this area, or over here, or on this one. Though this one's liable to get dewarded, so putting one down over here or over here is also pretty attractive. Or in this area over here, just to get a beat on what's going on in their woods. Similarly, if you're on the dire side, we saw they had a ward down here earlier. That's a very good ward. I love that. I also love putting a ward over here, and especially love putting a ward right here, because then you can see who's trying to go in here and farm these. And it's not likely to get dewarded as if you put it up here. It's very likely to get dewarded. It's also pretty good at the later stages to put one down over here. You can check out who's going for their ancients, check out who's going up to the secret shop. So yeah. Of course, that's offensive wards, so that's if you're a dire and you want to get a beat on what the Radiant are doing. Of course, you only put wards on the other side of the map if you are being aggressive, if you are guys ahead, else you put them on your side of the map. And let's say we are in more of a defensive mode than they are trying to be right now, then a ward over here is pretty good. It's very unlikely to get dewarded. It's going to get you a beat on who's trying to move around this area a lot. Around here is actually also pretty decent. Up here is okay, but it's likely to get dewarded a lot. This also over here can be okay, and right at this spot can be pretty good. Those are pretty much the ones I go for usually on the Radiant side for defensive wards. On the dire side for defensive wards, it's more of the same story. Over here can be pretty good, very likely to get dewarded. Maybe consider putting it down over here. You can see if they're trying to push this spot and be out of range of any sentry that's put down to check this area. For the mid, over here can be pretty good, especially if you put it right here. Then it can spot anyone moving around this area. You can also put one over here. It's okay. And in this area right over here can be pretty good. So let's just we see there isn't a lot left of this replay, so let's just see
Dire's
how this
top
pans
tower
out.
is
And
under
yeah, there's a
attack.
pretty decent ward going down over here. You managed to get a fight here, but it looks like it's a very messy fight, and unfortunately that favors the enemy a lot, especially since they managed to take out the anti-mage very fast. So I'm gonna have to actually turn back the clock on that one. So let's see. See the anti-mage bugging out here, letting us handily know where his corpse is gonna be. So the ward, if we see fog on the Radiant side, there we go. Again, I have to unpause for everything to apply. So they actually moved in this direction, so the ward actually saw a little bit of their movement, but the anti-mage, okay, so if the ward had been over here, the anti-mage could have gotten a little bit of a warning on when they were moving in on him. But instead the Doom managed to just blink in. He gets that nasty Aghanim's Doom off. that nasty 16 second doom off. Yeah, and you know, then the anti-mage is pretty much just done for. Like, we turn it down to half. See, they're just gonna go in. And the anti-mage is dead. With the anti-mage dead, that is pretty much their DPS gone. And with the DPS gone, they have no way to win the fight. So now it's just cleanup duty for the dire side. And that's the anti-mage. It's part ways the anti-mage not being careful enough, part way, you know, yeah, not enough happening for, like, part ways, not a good enough ward there for the Radiant side. So a little bit further forward before you can take that tower. They were being way too aggressive, honestly. They were a bit behind there. They're very, very reliant on the anti-mage being able to apply his damage. And Doom, you know, Doom, his whole thing is taking a single eye out of the fight and farming very well. It's pretty much two things Doom does better than almost anyone else. Reason why he's picked up all the time in pro games. So they managed to lose 4. Pretty much only have a tiny no way they can hang on to the towers now.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
So yeah, this is looking pretty lost. They can even backdoor towers now, which is never a good sign.
Fear not heresy.
Yeah, Tiny is just gonna die now to the Vengeful. Yeah, Vengeful hits pretty hard now. Despite, you know, they got a few kills off on the Vengeful in the start of the game. They also gave her a few kills, but they managed to kill her a few times, but she just kind of recuperated. Too many bad fights. The anti-mage revives. They have lost one set of rags though, and it is just, it's looking pretty bad. And they're gonna try for just a counter push down mid and try to see if they can get the, yeah, should make up here probably. No. Okay. It's not very good about using his mech, fortunately. I think also probably a Blink Dagger would be a lot better than whatever he's trying to build here. I might even have considered a Blink Dagger instead of the Aghanims. This ability would help you out a lot in this case. They're gonna try just to even things out while the Doom is dead here. But the Vengeful sneaks Roshan. And now things are looking pretty bad. Managed to kill off the Omni, but they got a double buyback. There's the Aghanims. And Anti-Mage dies.
Beset on all sides.
So this is basically, okay, when you go for the mid here, just press the mid here, that's an all-in statement. That's, you know, we need to take these mid racks at the very least, because else we're not getting enough out of this trade. They could have just taken, you know, tried to split push down these 2 outer towers and been happy with that, and then had 5 man to defend with. Instead, they're gonna force out a buyback from the anti-mage.
Dire's bottom tower is under
it depends
attack.
what you want to try and do. Anti-mage comes back, takes down the tower. So at least they got 2 towers, but 2 towers not really good enough at this stage. They need to take these racks down.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Beastmaster dying over here. Beastmaster, I don't agree with how he itemized, I think. He still doesn't have Blink. He's, in my opinion, that seems like he doesn't have an idea of what he wants to do with zero. Because he should be trying to Blink in Initiate. If they manage to get a pick off on the Doom with a Blink in Primal Roar, then they, you know, they can win a fight pretty handily with the anti-mage, because that's really their one way to dismantle this anti-mage right now is the Doom and the Guardian Angel. So if they can take out one of those, they have a pretty good shot. But right now they're having a hard time doing that. Really hard time. The Ogre's building into this pretty much has to be a Veil Discord. Don't like this at all. I think a Blink pretty much has to be the order of the day. Just blink in, Fire Blast, Fire Blast. That should, you know, that's if you get a little bit lucky, then that should, you know, that could easily be a kill. But looks like it's actually more than 40%. Looks more like 60% or something like that. Because it's nearly 900 damage now. Yeah. There we go. Dude goes on the anti right away, and he's dead. So there we go. Blink initiation, super powerful. In fact, why don't we just go back? Let's just take 10 seconds more. We're gonna see free camera down to 2.25. There's the anti. He gets spotted by the invis trap here. Let's just take it at half speed. Down. There they are. Anti-mage sees them. There's the doom. There's the arrow. Anti-mage walks into the arrow. So he turned around. That's pretty unfortunate. I thought it was a blink initiation, but it was just them being pretty dumb. So he just gets doomed up for no reason. Could have just made it out. Maybe he pressed his minimap. A lot of the times you see when people turn around like that, they press the minimap. But now the fight's pretty much over. Like, they're pretty close to killing the Omni, but who cares about killing the Omni when, you know, there's a Doom and a TA and a Mirana and a Vengeful doing a lot of damage. This Vengeful especially has a lot of stuff now. She's pretty scary. But this is looking like the end, so let's just...
Radiant's middle tower and Radiant's middle barracks are under attack. Radiant's middle barracks has Radiant's middle.
They've got 90 seconds until Anti-Mage can come back. He has spent
Radiant's bottom
we can see here that if there's a gold outline here, then that means he has got buyback, so neither of these two has buyback. And those are pretty much the only source of DPS at this point, so... Unfortunate, but...
Radiant structures of Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower, Radiant's Ancient is under dire victory.
There we go. There we are. So, okay, to summarize, in the laning stage, be less eager to use your spells. Just hang back with them a little bit. Make sure you have mana up for if you need it. You are a little bit too eager to use your mana a lot of the time. Yeah, and also when you're into off lane, if you're too melees, you can't really be that aggressive. You're a bit too aggressive, a bit too eager to get kills, and couldn't really make it happen. It just sort of gave up kills a little bit too easy in the offlane there. Did get a few good kills on the Vengeful when she were committed though. Very good, recognizing that if that was what was happening. So what else was there? Yeah, get invis detection. If you're noticing you had problems with invis and you did there, the Mirana is a very good reason to get dust. Templars also. So get that. Certainly worth delaying an Aghanims on an Ogre just to have dust up a little bit sooner. Keep TPs on you so you can TP in to, if the anti-mage gets going on, you can TP in, try to save him. Don't use it when you like revive and then TP out just to get to lane a little bit faster. That's not worth it. Just walk instead. What else was there? Yeah, we went over some warding spots. I think your wards were pretty okay for most of the time. I think your item build was pretty okay. I think you should consider maybe getting a blink dagger on Ogre. Certainly if you don't know what the Aghanims does, then maybe get a blink instead. What else was there? There was something else. Bloodlust. Use your Bloodlust and you make a little bit better. It can be a little bit hard to begin with when you suddenly you get a mech and you didn't have it before, so it can be hard for new players to think about having to use it, but just just when you get it, just think, I have this key dedicated to it and I need to do it in this situation. Then it can be a little bit easier to remember you need to do it. And your Bloodlust, just try to keep it up on, especially your Tiny and your Anti-Mage in this case. Those have really big right clicks, and giving it a little bit movement speed and a little bit attack speed is very, very good. So, yeah, just keep using it. Yeah, I hope you found this useful. This is gonna be all I have to say about this one. So, my name has been Cerebellum. This has been Academy of the Ancients. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and liking it. And if you want to get your replay review, the instructions for sending it in to me will be in the description of this video. Yeah, that's gonna be it. Ciao.